Hi, this is your application specialist, Mike Emmerich at FREY Municipal Software. Today, I will be demonstrating the new features, improvements, and refinements of the BUCS 24 release. This is a wonderful opportunity to explore and get more value from your BUCS fund accounting system. I have a list of items to share with you in today's demonstration, so let's get started. There is now the ability to pin a note on the notes screen. To show you that, let's log in the BUCS. Go to the payables, vendor maintenance, type in ABC tree service, edit, and go to notes. So let's say this certificate of insurance, we want to push that to the very top and leave it there. You're going to be able to click on edit, click on the new option of pin to top, click OK, and you'll see the bitmap of the pin, and it pushed it up to the top. If there are multiple notes with the pin to the top box checked, the most recently checked note will show at the top. This change applies to all available types of notes, which is in vendors that we're in now, AR customer, fixed assets, fund control, chart of accounts, investments, projects, clients, and leases. There's been a couple of changes in report parameters. Let's go to the general ledger. Go over to report parameters to take a look at those. We click on print and we go to directory of reports. There's now a report ID range, a report date or subtitle. So let's take a look at trial 1101 through trial 9999. And then I can go ahead and put in the report date, show you this. And there's also a new feature where you can send it to Excel. So if I go to Excel, now I get my list of report IDs, trial 1101 through trial 9214. Okay, let's cancel out of this. The other thing, under the directory of reports, this time I'm just going to leave everything open. Click on preview. We're not printing a blank line in between all these report IDs, so we're getting more on a sheet of paper. So this was 9 pages. It would have been 18 pages probably. So it's just getting you a condensed listing of all your reports. The next thing that we did in report parameters is when you click on print, and you can click on list parameters. You got the report ID range in here, and you got the report subtitle. Now this time you're actually getting the listing of each and every report ID for all the trial balances. The main thing that we did here is we changed that verbiage to report ID range, and then now you got your report date or subtitle. The next item that was changed is in vendor maintenance. And in vendor maintenance, we put additional testing in when you're adding vendors so you don't get duplicates anymore. So if we click on add, then I hit the function 5 key to add the next vendor number. On the vendor name, it's not checking if it matches exactly capital letters, upper, lowercase, anything like that. It's just checking everything. All right, so if I put in Ace Party Rental, it's coming up and says Ace Party Rental is already there under 8492. Vendor already exists with the name in BUCS. Do you want to continue adding the vendor with the same name? Yes or no, and it defaults to no. So I can say no here. Notice I put it in lowercase letters. If I hit cancel and go to vendor 8492, your Ace Party Rental, and it's in capital letters. So now we're just doing additional testing, and if we think you're adding the same vendor, we're going to let you know. We'll default it to no, but if you want to add it anyway, you'll be able to say yes, and I'll let you add it under a different vendor number. The next area where we made changes is in encumbrance maintenance, where we had some of the departments adding the encumbrance, click OK, and it would flip to the purchase order document, and then they would hit cancel. So then maybe when you or the auditor was actually looking for the purchase order document to back up the encumbrance, it was missing. To prevent that from happening, we added this feature in system controls where you can require the purchase order when adding the encumbrance. So let's go show you that. Go to the very top where it says General Ledger, System Controls, Edit, Accounts Payable tab. The second option right down here, Require Purchase Order when adding encumbrance. Click on that. Click OK. I'm not worried about the Crystal Reports path, so I'm going to say no, and then hit Cancel. Now I'm going to go to Payables, and I'm going to go to Encumbrance Maintenance right here. I'm going to click on Add. So I want to show you this. So I'm going to add an encumbrance for Staples. And I'm just going to put office copier, paper, and toner. Make it due on the 31st. And $250. So I'm clicking OK here. Complete. Then here your encumbrance is processed. When you click OK, it's flipping over to the purchase order document. We've had people where they're hitting cancel, and now it's going to force them to fill that in. Click on X. See, it's going to force them to fill it in. So if they just want to enter through it, it will carry forward that description along with the amount, and then all they have to do is hit complete and then hit OK. Now if you want to break it down into line items, then you could do that too, to better line items, you know. So if I really wanted to do office copier paper, I'm sorry, I'm at $50, two of them, and then I can add the toner, and that was 150, and then complete. So I have it fully broken out, and then click OK. So basically we just added a feature to force them to put in that PO document. The next item we added is in the purchase order documents. So let's go over to purchase orders. And I want to look at the most recent purchase order. Click on that and click on View. We added an Open Encumbrance button and an Archived Encumbrance button if you have the Requisition Control module, where that basically just takes a picture of every encumbrance that you have. The open encumbrance button, basically that gives you the ability to see the GL breakdown of the GL account numbers that you used. And it lets you do that as long as the encumbrance is still available and still open. And if you've already spent the money, then that won't be there anymore. But if you have the requisition control module and you click on archived encumbrance, it'll give you the GL breakdown. So that's the new features in that area of the system. I'm going to cancel out of here and go back to the main menu and hit close. The next feature we added will probably prove to be very popular with people, where you will now be able to reopen an encumbrance. If you have deleted an encumbrance in error, or you've liquidated the encumbrance entirely when you meant to do a partial, any of the leftover funds would be able to be reopened and given back to you. So let's show this to you. Now this only works for encumbrances that were deleted during the current fiscal year. So if I go to encumbrance maintenance, and let's pick this one. This is Lowe's for 3402. I'm going to go ahead and delete it on purpose to show you this. Delete individually and then delete. A purchase order exists for this encumbrance. Do you want to delete the PO? Yes. So the encumbrance is now completely deleted. So I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to show you the new option. It's in payables, encumbrance processing, reopen encumbrance. So now you see the 3402.18 there. I can click on reopen. Reopen button again. And this will be back in my purchase orders, or available for purchase orders, and it goes back into the encumbrance file. Okay. Now everything I showed you regarding the reopen encumbrance, you must have the requisition control module for that to work. The requisition control module basically makes a copy of every encumbrance that was added, and that's needed for these features. The next thing I want to show you is there is a reopen encumbrance history that we can look at. We go to encumbrance processing and go here to reopen encumbrance history. And then there's that 3402 that I reopened for Lowe's Home Center. And then these are just some examples I was doing before where I was deleting them and reopening them. But this is the main thing. And if you double click on it, I'll show you the GL account numbers that were used. So let's go back to the main menu. The next enhancement is in invoice processing, where we can selectively load invoices, and then you'll see anything that I click on, it'll now be highlighted in a light yellow color. So let's go to invoice maintenance here, load selectively, and then as I click on items, you'll see it in a light yellow. So like if you're clicking on things by accident, it's easier to see it now, and then you can unclick them. So I kind of really like that. Makes it easier to read. Then you just click OK to update that. So let's cancel out to the main menu. The next new feature is regarding funds availability test. So let's go to General Ledger, System Controls, Edit, and go to GL tab. Here it is here, Use Funds Availability Test. Print Funds Availability Report. So this is behaving like it does now, where it gives you the GL numbers and the invoice is used against them, and it shows a declining balance as far as the budget goes. And as far as cash, it shows the cash availability. Now, if you don't want that to print all the time, but only show it to you if any of the tests failed, we now give you this option: only show failed screen when test fails. So when you click on that, then click on OK, we'll present a screen if anything fails, and then you'll be given the option to print if you'd like to, but most of it will be displayed on the screen. So click OK here, and then click on No, and then canceling back to the main menu. The failed test screen would show up during the running of the check register. So let's put in today's date, run the register. So here's our check register. Close out of here. And here's our funds availability report. It's got a warning message that on the engineering fees, we're going negative on the budget, and on the oil company, on this line item for the fuel, you're going negative 157.70. On this one, negative 167,446.85. But on this, we got the system set to warn opposed to halt, so it'll let it go through, and we can deal with the budgeting thing later. So I can just click on close. The next change is regarding the check register, ACH, and electronic payment registers, where you're sending it to Excel. So I'm going to show you a before and after. So if we go to check register, send that to Excel, that's going to give us a listing of our check register with all the account numbers on it. And to somebody like people in council, that might be a little bit cluttered for them. They really just want to see what the invoices are being paid and the amounts. So see here where it's got the account numbers. We're going to be able to take that away and make it a clean one-line report. So let's cancel out of here and go to System Controls and show you how to turn that new feature on. So we're going to go to Edit, Accounts Payable, check Register Excel option, one line per transaction in Excel. So now if I could do the check register, send it to Excel, should look a lot cleaner for us. So now it all fits on one page. So you're seeing the invoices, the vendor names, they're all released, transaction descriptions, month and year, due date, invoice date, PO numbers, liquidation, the dollar amounts. Now when the invoice has multiple, or when the check has multiple invoices, you're going to see the check amount duplicate. So here's the invoice amount of $1774.65 and $1,828. Check total will be the same, $3602.65. Down here where you see it duplicate, that's 150, 165, 125, 125, but your check total is going to be 765. But this report will be a lot cleaner for council, easier to understand. Same is true for the ACH and electronic payment registers. They pretty much look exactly the same. All right, let's go back to the main menu. The next change is in the check reconciliation module. There's now the ability to add a comment on each and every transaction. It doesn't have to be just the unclaim and void it. So if I want to add a comment on a check like this, just do a right click, left click on comment, Examples such as received check today, will cash by Friday. Click OK. And then down here at the bottom right, we added a field to show the ACH, how many items that you cleared, and the total dollar amount of the ACH transactions that you cleared. So I'm finished with this part, so I'm going to click OK. Go back to the main menu. The next thing that changed is in fund account analysis, which is in general ledger, graphical analysis, fund accounts analysis. Right now, it's showing graph the top 10 funds has been increased to the top 15 funds. So you can see that on your cash, fund balance, encumbrance control, accounts payable if you're on accrual method of accounting. You can see your bank charges and interest earned, but we're not doing that. So here's our cash, but basically it changed from 10, gives you the ability to go all the way up to 15 now. The next change is in fee receipt history. So if we go to receivables, fee receipt history, I'm going to be able to show you this, where see this item, it's $190 in cash. Let's pretend that it needed to be a check. So instead of reversing it and then reprocessing it as a check, we're going to be able to double click and click on change payment type and go ahead and change that to a check. Okay, so this feature will be enabled for anybody that has update permissions to fee receipt history. This will make your life a lot easier instead of voiding and reprocessing. So now it says checks. Now, if the fee receipt was reversed, then that option will be turned off because she basically just canceled it out. The next enhancement is in the projects. So let's go to General Ledger. Let's go to our projects. Let's look at one toward the bottom. Let's look at this one right here, the new pumper. Now at the bottom right hand corner, you can see there's always been a paid invoice total. Total fields have been added for the outstanding invoices tab. So this is brought down there. Your encumbrances tab, that's all being added up, pushed there. Your archived encumbrances, totals there. And your purchase order tab now has a total. So you don't have to use your calculator and get your calculator tapes out anymore. It's all right here. So everybody should be pretty happy with that uses projects. The next change is in the preferences area. So under our favorites, we got preferences. Double click on that. Down here at the bottom, we got buttons that say restore all defaults and restore grid defaults. So when you click on restore grid defaults, the things like in vendor maintenance where you can move the grid to the left and to the right and make some of the columns bigger or smaller, when you push that button, it'll put it back to our defaults when you first bought the system. And then on the left-hand side where it says restore all defaults, that will restore all preference defaults. So the preferences are like your posting analysis print. When you first got it, it defaulted to detail. And then I had it on both. So when I click on this button, see how it pushes it back to detail? So it just restores all your preference defaults and all these little items here. Alright, so let's go back to the main menu. The icons on the task pane have been refreshed, and the fonts and favorites, quick links, and status bar area have all been enhanced for a more modern appearance. So when you're clicking on the general ledger, payables, receivables, and fixed assets, you can see the icons changed. And beyond that, you can see it's a little bit more clear to read, and a little bit more bolder, and it stands out a little bit more. So hopefully you enjoy those changes. The next and final item to go over is the new lease module. The lease module incorporates functionality for tracking and reporting leases, short-term, long-term, non-transferring, and subscriptions. GASB 87 mandates the leasee include all leases on the balance sheet. This enhanced reporting requirements enables government entities better insight into the lease obligations of their organization. GASB 96 aims to improve transparency and consistency in how governments account for and report subscription-based IT arrangements similar to existing lease standards. The new Leases module is located under the drop-down menu of the General Ledger. So let's go there. General Ledger, go to the center here where it says Leases, and this is where we have our maintenance, General Ledger codes, classes, departments, locations, postings, note report, history report, amortization projection, and payment projection. So to add a new lease, I'm going to go General Ledger, Leases, and go to Maintenance. I'm going to click on Add, and my ID number will be 1002. Description, Utility Billing Software. Change it to subscription. My location, Utility Office. Class will be Software. Department, Utility. Vendor will be FREY Municipal Software. And then the agreement number. And the General Ledger code. General Fund subscription at 100%. And then click OK. And then cancel out of here. Close. And I'm going to go to General Ledger, Leases, Posting. Then you have the option of initial value, amortization, closing, modification, termination of the lease, and existing value. So this is a brand new lease. So I'm going to put in the initial value. And it's 1002 for the utility billing software. Posting date. And we'll say the lease start date is the 15th. And then go 5 years out. Interest rate at 6.25. 60 periods. Monthly. Number of payments, 60. Monthly at the end of the period. No escalation rate. And the payment amount will be $1,000 a month. We didn't have any discount incentives, direct costs, prepayments, capitalized expenses, or payment incentives. So that's good enough. Then click OK. So when I cancel out of here and take you to General Ledger, maintenance, leases, and then maintenance. Then we view this. It's going to show you in the details area the lease start date, the ending date, all that information I keyed in, the payment amount, and the present value of that lease is $51,415.83. So then each and every month we'll be making monthly payments. Cancel out of here, hit close, general ledger, leases, and then we got your general ledger codes where you set up the recording, the amortization, the modification, termination, loss, direct cost expenses, capital expenses. So this is where you're setting up your general ledger codes for the activity that you're doing. General ledger, leases. Next thing is classes. You've got buildings, equipment, software. So you can add all the different classes that you need to. General ledger, leases, departments. This lets you add all your departments. I put in finance, fire, parks and rec, police, street, utility, and zoning. General ledger, leases, locations. Accounting office, IT office, storeroom, admin building, storeroom, water sewer building, and utility office. If this sounds like a module that would enhance your operation, contact sales at 800-659-3739 for additional information and a quote to add the lease module to your BUCS system. We at FREY Municipal Software would like to thank everyone who responded to the BUCS survey and the beta testing of the product. The ideas and suggestions that we received from our users is the driving force behind the changes that are implemented in the BUCS. Thanks again for watching this video.